Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus today. Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio, no pictures live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the issue of alimony and child support, and it's often hard to distinguish between the two, the way that's applied. Now, there's been a recent case in the United States. It's a black guy, but I think he's an actor or a rock star. I think an actor. And he has to pay, the numbers seem to vary depending on which article you read. Some articles claim he's got to pay $2,500 a week. Others say it's like $75,000 for the year, or there's a back amount of $70,000+ plus $2,500 a week going forward. Or there was another one that said it was $1,500 or $1,600 a week that he had to pay. Now, he's not a super rich guy or anything. He's doing all right, but it's not a super rich guy. Why does he have to pay that much money? So does his ex-wife or girlfriend have to work or not work, or what's the requirements on her? So now, this is something that I came across. Sort of, there was an explosion in Australia, at least. I think it was a left-leaning pro-globalist government created with the globalists, sort of the Americans leaning on them, but created I think it was called the Child Support Agency or something like that. And the Child Support Agency's job was to go and chase after those evil men. The propaganda at the time was hysterical that all these men were Maserati driving multi-millionaires who weren't paying their child support. Multi-millionaires, and they're all white and male and straight and fucking Nazis. And so the agency, the Child Support Agency, is going to hold these Nazis to book, make them pay. And each of these Maserati driving multi-millionaires had this impoverished little waif of a wife who had 10 children, or all of them were living in rags while he drove a Maserati. And that was the propaganda line they used to run, which was insane, of course. But many, not all, but many of the newspapers or media outlets supported that. Yeah, Nazi, millionaire Nazis not paying that. So, and the reality obviously was vastly different. But so the Child Support Agency was staffed with people who had a mission. They were there to get those fucking Nazi men, these people who weren't paying, and to make them pay. And they used to have information sessions, and I even went along to one because the effect it was having on the people in where I was working at the time. So and you get this radical gender studies, lesbian who hates the family, who hates men, hates straight white men. And she's there confidently, no oversight on her, confidently standing there. We will make him pay. We will make him pay. He's not going to get away with it. And these slanderous type thing. But the enemy was at the time, before mass migration, the enemy was straight white men. They were the enemy. This was the front line of gender conflict. Straight white men were the enemy, and we now have the power. We have the power to crush those Nazi motherfuckers. And this was just very much the view. Now, also in this information session, it wasn't actually about money. I mean, money was obviously an issue. It wasn't about money. It was about getting even. Men have oppressed women for centuries. We're now going to get even with those patriarchal, misogynist Nazi. And so it's very ideological, shot through with ideology. And the people that they were employing to work at this place were, gender studies activists, lesbians. It's like they went out and handpicked. Do you hate straight white men? You do. Job for you here. What about you? Do you hate straight white? Oh, you need to passionately hate them. You do. Okay, and so on. So they were bringing people in who weren't concerned with administering the law or administering the the process or being fair. No, nothing of the sort. They are out to go from an ideological perspective. Now, there are people who were working for, in the company I was at, I was like VP of new product development, new technology at the time when this was all sort of breaking loose, and or around that time at least. And these guys, these software programmers, design engineers, that sort of thing, these are very bright guys. And I certainly had a team of very bright guys. They're all straight white males. And because they were working long hours and this sort of thing, and men that are sort of like this, very focused and are quite well off because they're on good incomes, they tend to attract a certain sort of woman, I think, that and some of them weren't socially very gifted. They were technically and academically gifted, but not socially gifted. So they fell victim to women who go, oh, gee, he's got a good income. I can get a good life out of him. He can take me out to nice dinners and nice restaurants. He can afford for me to sit around and invariably, these women would stop working and they would, oh, I'm feeling sick, I can't get a job, and live off his high income, and then would get accidentally pregnant. Oh, I just forgot to take the pill. Oh. And then next thing you know, they're realizing that they can walk away with a very substantial sum of money from his high income. Now, the basis that the child support people or the alimony people were working from at the time was, and still is today, as best I can work out, the attitude was that they can, his income is high, and he's a straight white male, thus an oppressor, and therefore, we have to rebalance the oppression of centuries where men were oppressing women. And therefore, when we take his money, and a large portion of it, we're actually doing some sort of ideological gender studies, social justice type thing. So the merits of the case aren't really relevant. It's the redressing the power imbalance that is the relevant factor here. And so they pursued it very much along those lines. So if the guy was sort of, lazy and never worked, an itinerant labourer that barely made a buck, don't care about him. He's irrelevant, not interested. But if it's a pillar of society, very hardworking, very studious, studied hard at school, straight white male that has really made his own breaks in life, then they were particularly the enemy. For some reason, they were the enemy. Now, there are other people who were part of the patronage machine who were just being gifted jobs because they knew the right people and all this sort of thing, and they wouldn't do a hard day's work, and they weren't that bright. They were socially capable. They knew the right people and were loved and liked by the right people, and so they were just gifted, well-paying, prestigious jobs, that sort of thing. They could make up. So if those guys got hit with, severe alimony or child support or whatever payments to make, then they could simply go to the patronage machine and say, look, these guys are taking half of my income. Not a problem, Billy Bob. We'll just double your income, or we'll give you other means. We'll give you under the table payments, or we'll do this with so they would, the same people that approve and sign off on this machine of alimony and child support are the same people. They're the ones that will look after their own kind so they don't suffer. We'll make sure you don't suffer. So the effect of child support didn't fall heavily, or alimony didn't fall heavily on the people that had no money and had nothing. They were irrelevant. It didn't fall heavily on the people who were part of the patronage machine and could easily make it. There's a politician that got divorced and he had quite heavy payments to make, and he'd lost his house and this sort of thing, and so they gave him every break, every committee they put him on. He was hired as a special consultant. They got him on speaking tours for big fees, and all of it rigged and fixed and set up. So this guy ended up, the effect of, within 2 to 3 years, he'd made up for everything he'd lost and had come back with extra. And they would do things like they would fix his ex-wife up with a nice, cozy, bullshit, do-nothing job, a consultant somewhere. so that she didn't make onerous demands on his alimony, making alimony payment. So there were all sorts of things going on. So that guy was really unaffected by it, that politician. Another one was a union organizer, I noticed, in fact, a few of them. So they were completely unaffected by all this. And they were immune from its effects. The poor people who had nothing, they were immune anyway because they had no money to pay with, so who cares? So it was the people, the hardworking people in the middle, they were the ones that were crushed by this. And the amount of folks that I, that were working in this product development section, the amount of men who just would come to me and say, "Look, Billy Bob, I can't. It's no point me working. There is no point me working here. I might as well get a job that pays almost nothing, or I might as well just work sort of in the underground economy." But given the amount of money they want to take, the back pay and this and that, and how it's going to go on for another 15 years, because of that, it's just not worthwhile. As long as I work and make a decent income, I have a target on my back. It is therefore not worth me working and making a decent income. And when I drop out of the system, then I have no more target on my back and I can get on with my life. And so, if it's something they could pay off in a year, then fine. But these guys are looking at 15 years plus. And the amount of times these women can go to the court and say, the divorce court, say, the child has special needs. Yeah, fine, done, rubber stamp. Another 5 years of paying alimony and child support, and on it goes. And it's nothing. As one guy won a lottery, and even though he'd been divorced for 30 years, for Christ's sakes, his ex-wife was able to drag him into the divorce courts and get half the lottery payout. This is on top of the free house and everything else you'd already got. So that's how open-ended it is. And the only way you can avoid, as these men reasoned, the only way you can avoid having that permanent target on your back is simply to drop out, which a lot of them did. So you're looking at these very, very capable, design engineers and so on who end up going around cleaning windows for cash, or mowing lawns for cash, this sort of stuff, just because they don't want to forever just subsidize the laziness and the ideological vengeance of that system. So in the early 80s or mid 80s, I think it was, but around that time, they created this very aggressive ideological goon squad agencies for the sole purpose of going after men. But I don't know if anyone realized this at the time. I did try and explain it to a few politicians. Do you realize that it's falling? The load is falling 100% on hardworking, self-made people. It's not falling on the poor or the well-connected. It's falling on those people in the middle. They're not your enemy. They're not the ideological enemy, but you've turned them into that. And if you look at how the globalist project has gone since then and right up to the present day, it is those people, the straight white males that want to work hard and want clean government and fair elections and incorruptible judges. Those people in the middle are the globalist enemy, the enemy of the globalist project and of the feminist project, the LGBTQ project, and they're still the enemy. And they were then, interestingly, from an ideological point of view. Now, sitting down talking to one senior public servant back in the day, they were quite open about this, that the child support is really 1/3 for the child and 2/3 for the woman, and that's it, because we have to make the woman want to keep the children. We don't want the woman giving up the children for adoption or something like that. We want the woman to keep the children or the child, and therefore we have to effectively bribe her to keep the children. That's why the amount of child support is so high. And then alimony on top. Now you look at the better off women anyway, alimony, and you look at their list of things that they have to have, and they have to, one woman's she has to have $100 a day. This is on top of everything else, by the way, $100 a day for fresh cut flowers, because she likes to have fresh cut flowers in the, and so therefore needs $100 a day. So a lot of this is just women indulging themselves at someone else's expense. Now, because divorce is so easy, and because, you know, particularly a woman can say, you know, oh, he's violent, he's an oppressor, he's a Nazi or something like that, and the machine will click into gear and confirm her strange and paranoid delusions, and then but he has to pay for it. Now, in the reverse, when it's the woman who's got the better job, you know, there's one woman who works in like her father or her family's a big investor, so they give their daughter well-paid, prestigious jobs, and so she gets divorced, and the guy, you know, he gets custody of the children because he's got some nothing job. You know, he gets custody of the children, and she has to pay him. But again, you know, the wealthy family, it doesn't cost her, nothing changes for her. Now, you know, you look at people on loans, a woman who lost custody and she had some serious drug problems, things like that. And she didn't really want the children anyway. So it was kind of, you know, went along those lines. They were trying to convince her that she should keep, you know, make him pay, you know, had straight white asshole. So anyway, she said, no, I don't want the children. But she resented every penny she handed her, bitterly resented every penny that she handed over to him. Why should I pay that bastard? And you know, that sort of thing. So there are two very different views. And whereas the state will aggressively pursue men internationally as well. You know, I had one of the technicians or design engineers. He'd be in his 30s, but when he was 18, he'd been to some drunken student, you know, party somewhere, and you know, he screwing some chick, and she got pregnant, or so she said to him. She got pregnant, and she came to him, said, "Look, I'm pregnant. You have to pay for the abortion," which he did. Fortunately, he got it in writing that she was agreeing, and that was the deal. And then she decided to keep the child, but lived with her reasonably well-to-do parents, and they fell on stony times, you know, 15 years, whatever later. And so she applies for some sort of government benefit. They say, well, you're not going to get a penny until you tell us who the biological father is of the child. So she nominates. This was in Canada or somewhere, and so he's moved to Australia in the meantime with a company, some international company he worked for then, and smart guy, and he just comes in to see me one day. All the colours drained from his face, and I can tell he's in a bad way. And I thought he's going to tell me he's got cancer or something, he's going to die. But he told me, look, these people are coming after me, and they want 15 years of back pay. You know, I've told them that we had an agreement that she would have have an abortion. I paid for it. She kept the money and told me she'd had an abortion, but she hadn't. And now they want me to pay 15 years of back pay plus this plus that. He said, financially, my life is over. It's ruined. You know, that's it. So I'll have to stop work, and I'm really sorry about this, but I thought the guy was he was on the verge of bursting out in tears. You know, the stress of it all and the shock of it all. So why is that a sensible thing? So he went and he went off and worked as a cleaner or something. You know, that's work for cash. He just went off and did that. So this is the state of things. So when they want money from people, I've noticed what they don't do is they don't sit down and say, okay, reasonably, how much, you know, should we expect from somebody? You know, if we're going to demand so much money that they just throw a go, right? Fuck yeah, I'll just go and, you know, be a cleaner or mow lawns or something. You know, for cash, like screw you, you're not going to get a penny out of me. You want too much, you've ruined my life. If you get to the point where someone's saying my life is ruined, why would I bother? And they just drop out, then you fail. The process isn't working. So again, I would come back to the point. It's more about vengeance than it is about creating something that works. And some of these guys that have been involved, they've tape recorded the conversations they're having with the people who are chasing them for alimony. And it's amazing and outrageous how high-handed these people are, the threats they make. I mean, for goodness sakes. And again, they're ideological fanatics. They're not trying to make something that works or create a situation everyone can agree with. Far from it. He is the enemy. He is the enemy, and we are going to crush that motherfucker Nazi. She is the little victim, and as long as that ideological attitude persists, and it still does up to the present day, then it's hard to imagine the system will ever work or function justly or reasonably. You've been Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.